Hi, I'm Ethan, and I'm here to tell you guys about what it takes to be an effective storyteller and how you can do this. Now, the first step that you're going to want to ask yourself is, why should you tell a story? Well, to me, I think that you should tell a story because what that's going to do is it's going to narrow that gap that you have with your audience in between being strangers and being friends. And why that's good is because it's going to make your audience trust you a lot more, and they're going to be able to listen to you, and they're going to be able to retain the information that you're giving to them a whole lot better. So if I were to tell someone about a day I was having and I was telling them about the clothes they wear, that's not going to draw the audience as much. But if I'm telling somebody about the day that I had and I saw a wild gorilla, that's going to draw in an audience a lot more. So you need to include the important details and you need to make your audience relate to it. So maybe the gorilla wasn't a good idea, but it's going to help your audience visualize a lot better. And with audience visualization, that's good for your story because then it's going to be able to have your audience see that, and then they're going to be able to picture in their mind what you're thinking of when you're saying something. So if you're telling somebody to think of it like a warm chocolate chip cookie, they're going to think of a grandma's chocolate chip cookie or something like that, and they're more easily to remember or relate it to a specific time in their life where they experienced something a lot similar. So if I was to, for example, tell a KU student to think of Potter's Lake, it would probably look something a lot like this. So how are you going to choose the right story? Choosing the right story is hard because you want to know exactly what you're talking about, and it has to be related to the speech that you're giving. So I guess my stories kind of don't really do that either, but you guys get the gist. If you tell a story about a gorilla and you're talking about gorillas, that's going to be a lot better of a story than if you were talking about graphic design and you're telling a story about a gorilla sometime, because that's not going to draw in your audience and that's not going to make them relate to you a lot better. And you need that relevancy for the audience to best understand your presentation. Some story necessities. Now, your story should include 3 basic things. And I think all of you guys know that is the beginning, the middle, and the end. Another important part to your story is you need to introduce conflict. Conflict can be anything from an argument or, excitement or something like that, but it needs to, be exciting. It needs to have pop to it. It can't be bland. And you got to explain the importance of what that conflict is to your audience and what it means to what's happening in the story. And most importantly, you need to look at your story that you're going to tell your audience and you need to say, how did my story help me? What did I learn from my story that I want the audience to get out of this today? Don't get carried away. Keep it simple. Include only the important details. Do not babble and do not go on about, unimportant details like what color your shoelaces were or what the air temperature was that day. You want to keep your audience drawn in with the facts that matter. And another thing is you need to practice what you will say. Practicing what you will say will help you when you're on stage, and it will make you feel more comfortable with your audience. Keep the audience interested and don't tell a boring, pointless story. Now, I'm going to tell you guys what you need to remember, and these are just a couple of simple things. So you got to stick to the point when you're telling your story. Your audience will remember you better the better that your story is. And if your story is one that's funny, they're going to remember it even better than that. Now, choose a story of a time where you learned something or you developed or grew as a human. Questions? Don't be afraid to leave it in the comments.